Hello, my beautiful buds. Welcome back to my channel, Sprouts with Joy. My name is Joy, and if you like to talk about plants, you're in the right place. So today, I wanted to talk about some of the plants that I never talk about. I don't know why I never talk about them or bring them up on my channel. For some of them, I think that they just don't excite me as much anymore, or they don't really do anything, or what they do is always kind of the same thing. Honestly, with some of them, their growth has just been awkward. You're not that cute. Your hair is uneven. You look dusty. Again, there's no really good reason. So I figured, you know what? I kind of want to give them a spotlight. I want to appreciate these plants because I think that they're generally worthy of appreciation. So yeah, if you're curious about what plants I never really talk about in my collection, let's dive in. All right, this is my Hoya australis Lisa. Honestly, I don't know why I don't talk about this plant because it really is a beautiful plant. The variegation on it is gorgeous. I'm pretty sure this plant had a lot of hype for a while on social media. Now that hype has kind of died off and then it got a bit more accessible. I mean, I'm pretty sure I found this plant for under $10, like this whole plant. You know, it had its moment and then people kind of moved on to other more unique Hoya, I guess, or rarer Hoya. And then people just kind of moved on, which is really sad because this is a beautiful plant. It's grown a little bit for me and it has a lot of growth points. If you can see that. I mean, it's got a lot of growth points. It hasn't totally taken off for me. I mean, honestly, the more I'm staring at it, the more I'm like, dang, I should really appreciate this plant more. This was one of the very first Hoya that I purchased, but not this one particularly because I had a different Hoya australis Lisa that I bought, and within a week it started dying on me. And I don't know if I made it rot or if I bought it with rot. I don't know. I will say the soil was pretty sus, but I also was a beginner at Hoya, so that also could have been the problem. But I did buy a new one, and this one has been really happy and stable. And I have treated it with sulfur fungicide like all the rest of my Hoya, because I'm pretty sure all of them probably had flat mites, to be honest. Yep, Hoya australis Lisa. It's really quite beautiful. The leaves look painted on. I think people should come back to this one. The next one that I want to talk about is right behind me. It is the Calathea lancifolia, or the rattlesnake Calathea. And actually, so I think the main reason I didn't talk about this plant for so long is that it just wasn't doing anything for me. And it also had some mechanical damage because I have one particular cat, Ginny, that likes to munch on these leaves. And I don't know how she does it, but she somehow knows which plants aren't toxic to cats because she only targets those specific plants. And Calatheas, and particularly I know this plant is technically, I mean, it's probably not great for them, but it's technically non-toxic. And of course she targets it and munches on the leaves, and especially as they're emerging too, which it just sucks. It's come on, why do you do this to me? So it had some mechanical damage, so I cut some of that off, and then, you know, eventually as those leaves died off, I just removed them all together because it was driving me crazy how they had these little munchy bite marks on them, you know? But aside from the mechanical damage and it not looking super pretty, it also just wasn't really growing. But I will say now it is finally putting out quite a bit of new growth, which I'm super excited for because when I first was getting into houseplants and houseplant collecting, I saw this plant a number of times and I really, really liked it, and I finally got it. And then once I got it, I feel like I kind of fell out of love with it. I don't really understand why. It's a very beautiful plant, and as far as Calathea go, I feel like it's maybe slightly less maintenance. This plant may be rising in terms of my favor for it if it keeps growing for me, because it just out of the blue decided, hey, I like you again. Let's be friends. I mean, I will be friends with her. Okay, this next plant, I genuinely don't know anything about it. And I don't know how it's still alive. And this is, I think it's just called a climbing aloe. I'll give you a look at it. This is honestly a pretty cool plant. and it grows and it's super resilient. So I don't really know why I haven't talked about it. I think maybe I just haven't, I've never really been completely in love with it. So I just always sort of overlook it in favor of a lot of my other plants. But it really is pretty unique looking, and I should probably give it some more attention because it's worked really hard for it. This is one of the plants that I've had in my collection the longest that's still alive because I think my sophomore or junior year of college, when I was still primarily collecting succulents and just barely dipping my toes into like the pothos world, one of the girls on my wing, like on my floor in the dorm, she had this climbing aloe, and for whatever reason she wasn't interested in keeping it anymore, and she knew that I was really into plants. I was kind of known as the plant queen in my dorm a little bit, which is kind of funny because like I was nowhere near the plant enthusiast that I am today, but I happily took it from her because I was like, I mean, hey, it's a free plant, why not? And this guy just has stuck around even though I have neglected it. I have not watered it. Literally one piece of the plant like completely died off, probably from underwatering. I'm pretty sure this had mealybugs, like a huge mealybug infestation at one point, and somehow I knocked that away with like just one treatment, and then it's been fine ever since. But yeah, it has like a few offshoots, like little pups that have come up over the years. And I mean, I even had this in like a north window for like 6 or 7 months. And with it being an aloe, you know, you'd think that it would need more light, but yeah, it persisted, it kept growing. I mistreated it, so like, I'm not gonna make a care video for this anytime soon. And again, I genuinely, like, I don't even really know the botanical name of this. I just haven't done any research on this plant. I just know, I think it's a climbing aloe. That's literally all I know about it. I have recently repotted it and put it into like close to a south facing window, so it's getting some pretty bright and direct light, and it's in my kitchen now rather than in my finished attic, so it's getting a lot more love and attention and affection. So I promise I will take better care of you. This is like, hold me accountable, guys. Like, I need to take better care of this plant. This is just one of those plants sorry, bud. Next, I'm gonna talk about my watermelon peperomia, which, okay, I actually genuinely really like this plant. I think that it's really fun, really unique. This is another one of those plants that had a lot of social media hype for a while, and it's since kind of died down a little bit in favor of some other plants. But I think that people still, on the whole, like it, and it is getting more accessible now. It has been for a while, which is really nice. I think I just never talk about it because honestly, I like never talk about any of my peperomia. I think I have like 3 peperomia. I just recently featured my like red log peperomia, or verticillata. I still don't know how the heck to pronounce that. But the other 2 are actually on this list. This peperomia and then the next one that's coming up. And I just feel like I'm just not as well versed in peperomia care, so they kind of intimidate me a little bit, and I also have a hard time getting them to like grow nicely for me, because I feel like they look nice when you first buy them, and then they start getting all gangly and doing this. And even though they're like incredibly easy to propagate, I feel like they're a little bit tricky to get them to like look nice and stay looking nice. It's maybe not the biggest deal in the world. I mean, I can appreciate a gangly plant that's kind of funky and fun. Like, that's fine. Although I do feel a little bit bad because this plant sits next to my toaster oven, and it has gotten like burnt a few times. So, you know, sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. And then some of the leaves have come in just really awkward and weird, and a lot of leaves just kind of randomly break off. But it still grows and it still seems happy. But again, like, I mean, I'm kind of like holding this together with plant Velcro to keep it from just sprawling everywhere, just to give it a bit more support. But I mean, yeah, in general, I did recently repot it. Yeah, I just don't know what I'm doing with this plant. Okay, the next plant is my ZZ plant, or Zamioculcas zamiifolia. Is that how you say it? I'm just straight up guessing at this point because I and everyone else calls this a ZZ plant because it's a mouthful otherwise. But I mean, I genuinely love having this plant. And also, as a side note, I feel like I have to say the obligatory, sorry, my ZZ is just full of dust and I try to wash it off, but as everyone knows, this plant is a freaking dust magnet. But regardless, I do genuinely like this plant. I think it's awesome. I love that it has like the tubers. Is that the right terminology for roots? Rhizomes, I think, is the correct terminology. But you know, it's got these really gnarly, chunky roots and rhizomes going on. And of course, I think that we all love a low maintenance queen. So that is the ZZ. But of course, like pretty much any other ZZ plants, this is a very slow grower, which I found somewhat surprising because I definitely don't neglect this plant. I think I water it appropriately, and it's also like underneath a south-facing window, so it doesn't get any direct south light, but it gets a lot of indirect south light in my kitchen. So, you know, I don't really know why this one hasn't grown for me like at all, because I do actually have one other ZZ plant that's in my finished attic, and that tends to be home to the plants that I neglect the most because it's an absolute pain to water them. But that ZZ is in the middle of the attic, so it gets very little light. And that one just put out like a new, what do you even call it? Like shoot of leaves, like a new stem branch thing. I mean, I'm not brushed up on my ZZ terminology, clearly. Excuse me. These are the plants that I just don't talk about, maybe don't know a whole lot about either. So I don't know, that puzzles me a little bit as to why this one hasn't grown for me. I feel like the day that this plant grows for me, I'm going to just flip out and put it on my favorites list, but that day has not come. So therefore, I have not really spoken about this plant a whole lot. I think everyone should probably have a ZZ plant in their collection because they are so chill and you can put them in a lot of places and they'll just exist. All right, and next is my Syngonium podophyllum confetti. So this plant is mostly green, but it has little speckles of pink. Confetti is super cute. And it actually even has like confetti tricolor vibes with this one leaf that I guess it's partially reverted, but like it looks pretty awesome. But yeah, I mean, this plant even has like a new leaf coming in that is looking pretty cute and looks like it might have some pink on it, and like it grows for me. It's a pretty nice plant. I would say it's up there as far as like Syngoniums that I like in my collection. But I don't know why I haven't spoken about it. I feel like I hauled it in one video and I haven't really talked about it ever since. Oh my goodness, like now that I'm looking at it, like this is one of the new leaves that just came out, and look at how cute and precious that is. I don't know how well you can see the little speckles of pink on it, but they're there and they're freaking adorable. I will say some of the leaves have like died down in terms of how much pink they have, so I don't know if it would help if I put this plant in a higher light situation because it's in a fairly low light situation. And even though it's still growing, I think that it could be happier. And that might be part of the reason that I don't talk about it, is that I just get the sense that it could be happier than it is. But I did recently repot it in a video, so I guess it got a little bit of attention there. I don't know, this plant definitely deserves more love than I give it. So this is my formal apology to my Syngonium confetti. I'm sorry for not giving you more attention because you actually really deserve it. And I actually do genuinely love you now that I'm paying attention to you for once. This is like my middle child, apparently, of my plants. I don't think I would ever intentionally neglect a middle child of mine. I don't currently have a middle child because I only have two, but I'm sorry, husband. My husband's a middle child and he's sitting over there, and I suddenly got really self-conscious because I was like, dang it. I hope you didn't feel neglected. I don't think that you did. You have a very healthy family. He's not looking at me. All right, I feel like I need to like speed through these last few plants because I just get talking and I get chatty and rambly and I did not want this video to be super long. So I'm just going through plants. I should be able to just speed right through them, you know? All right, this is the other peperomia I was referring to, and it's the peperomia obtusifolia, and dear Lord, I have neglected this plant so much. It's right up there next to the climbing aloe of a plant that I just like have not paid attention to. I have not repotted this thing ever. The soil is so compacted, I don't think that it can absorb water anymore. Like, it is genuinely, oh, I'm afraid to do this. Oh my Lord, it's so bad. The soil's so crusty and dry, those poor roots. Oh my gosh, I'm kind of halfway tempted to like repot it after I film this video because dear Lord, this is bad. And there's okay, I'm not gonna show you guys because this is disgusting, but there's even an old leaf at the top of the soil that has mold on it. That's how bad and like neglected this plant is. And I'm just dropping plant matter everywhere right now. This plant just needs new soil. I got this like 2 years ago. I haven't like, this might take the cake for the most neglected plant in my collection. Like, it has so many like bare spots where it's just lost leaves because they perished. I usually don't water this plant unless I just see it completely flopped over, dramatically dead. It has a caked layer of dust all over it. Oh my gosh, that's so bad. Oh, I feel horrible. I feel horrible just looking at this. Like, and somehow it's still trying to put out this little champion of a leaf right there. Like, what the heck? Oh, yeah, I don't talk about this plant because I basically pretend it doesn't exist. And I think it's because I don't like it that much. It actually sits next to the ZZ, so it's not in like the worst spot ever in my house, but I just never think about it ever or talk about it. So this poor peperomia obtusifolia. Do I try to revive it or do I just throw it out and like put it out of its misery? Like, it's still alive. I just need to step it up, you know? Again, hold me accountable, guys, because this is unacceptable. At least, okay, everyone goes through times where they like neglect plants in their collection or whatever. I'm not judging other people, like all y'all, I don't care what you do. It's unacceptable for myself. I'm judging myself right now because I hold myself to really high standards. So don't take that the wrong way. That's me judging myself. I don't care what anybody else does, but me, ugh, I feel so bad. All right, and this plant is, honestly, I go back and forth with it. It's my Hoya pubicalis? I never know how to pronounce that name. And I think it's the Royal Hawaiian Purple, but I don't know for sure. I bought it as a tiny little plug at a local nursery, and the newest leaves that had come out were like really deep purple and had that like pink splashiness, so I thought it was really cute. It has not really remained cute for me because I think that it got flat mite. So you'll see there is the remainder of the sulfur fungicide treatment on it, hence the like splashy white parts. Like, some of that is part of the plant, but some of that is the treatment. But it did recently put out a new leaf right here after like not really growing for me for a really long time. It's not quite as deep purple as it used to be, and that might just be because it's not getting enough light, but I mean, it's kind of cute. A lot of the other leaves were like super deformed and awkward. Like, look at that little weirdo. I should probably get this thing on a trellis too because it looks like it's looking for something to hold on to. I have no really good reason to not be talking about this plant. Honestly, like, the splashing on it is really pretty. Like, I like it. I think it just wasn't doing anything for a long time and looked kind of gnarly. So it wasn't like a favorite or anything, and it just kind of went under the radar because when I did repot it, it was when I was like pregnant and not really filming that much at all. So yeah. Ugh. I just got a whiff of like the sulfur fungicide smell that was not good. Okay, and this plant right here is my philodendron Mia, and I haven't really talked much about this plant because I just don't really like it that much. Sorry, I just don't like its growth habit. Like, it's so awkward and weird. And there are some plants that, like, I feel like their awkwardness is endearing, but with this plant, its awkwardness, it's not that endearing to me. It's just kind of there. And I like having it because it does provide a pop of green in a pretty low light area. And, you know, it's not thriving, but it's still growing and it's surviving. And it's a plant that, like, I feel like I can afford to put it in one of those low light areas and have a pop of green because I don't care all that much about it. So I'm sorry. But I do like where it is in my home. It's low maintenance, so that's good. But it's also, like, never really doing anything that I'm that enthralled with either. So I don't know. Sorry. I think I picked it up from the nursery because I'd never seen the cultivar, like, I'd never seen a philodendron Mia before. So I thought it was like, oh, it's exciting. It's, you know, different. But the way that it has grown in my collection, I'm just kind of like, I'm just not that into it, you know? It's kind of sad, but it's okay. Maybe she'll grow on me eventually. I don't know. All right, the last plant that I want to talk about is, okay, it's behind me. Let's see if I can, like, remove it without any casualties. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Okay. The last plant I want to talk about is, so it's a snake plant, obviously. Its botanical name, I know it used to be a Sansevieria, like Laurentii or something. Now I know that it's reclassified to Dracaena, but I don't know what the specific species is of it anymore because I just haven't really looked into it. Again, this is a plant that I just haven't thought a lot about, which is kind of sad. But I'd say, okay, I appreciate this plant. I feel like it's a fun little statement in terms of my interior design, I guess. I have it up here with my other plants, and I feel like the leaves are just unique and different enough from my other plants. It just breaks up the pattern, which I think is nice. This is currently the only snake plant in my collection, and I think that I'd probably technically prefer a different kind of snake plant because I'm not, like, all that into this, but this was, you know, a gift from somebody that was getting rid of some of their plants. You know, I got it when my collection was still quite small, and so I just received it and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take it. And she's kind of remained ever since. I think if I were to ever get any other snake plants, I'd probably get, like, maybe a whale fin or, like, a moonlight or a Bental Sensation, I think is what it's called. You know, I'm not, like, particularly into this one, which I think is why I don't really talk about it that much. And honestly, it really needs to be repotted too, like, desperately. The soil that it's in is the original soil and it's atrocious, but it still somehow survived. And it's actually been growing for me, which is really exciting. I was not expecting that to happen because snake plants are notorious for being slower growers, but I do have it in a pretty good spot in terms of light. It's, like, under this grow light over here, so I think it's pretty happy. But I think this is, like, some new growth right here, and then right at the bottom, I don't know how well you'll be able to see that, if at all, but, you know, there's some new growth at the bottom right there, like little babies shooting up. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to keep track of which leaves are new or not because they all kind of blend together. But oh, like right here is another little new leaf that's popping up. So I don't know, there's, like, a lot of leaves just coming out of nowhere on this plant. And I think, I don't know, again, it's kind of hard to tell which ones are new or not. Yeah, this is the last plant that I just don't really talk about or feature all that much. But honestly, now that I'm sitting here looking at them, it's like, ooh, maybe I should appreciate you a little bit more because it's kind of cool when you look at it up close, you know? Like those stripes on it, I like it. But it is what it is. Whew. Well, that was a journey, and honestly, I do feel kind of convicted about the lack of attention that I've given some of these plants. Some of them I do care for pretty decently well, I just haven't shared them that much on my channel, but others of them I definitely just have straight up neglected or just not appreciated very much. But looking at all these plants up close again, I feel like it's kind of reignited some of my passion for them, which was kind of the point of this video, because I've been thinking about this for a long time as I look through my collection, and I just realized that I forgot to talk about another plant. But honestly, I feel like this video is long enough that I'm probably just going to wrap it up anyways, and maybe I'll make up for it by featuring that plant in another video. Honestly, I don't know if you guys want to try to guess which plant it is. It is a plant that I have hauled before on this channel. So like I have spoken about it at least once before, but I don't think I've spoken about it ever since I hauled it in a video. So if you want to guess which plant that I was going to talk about that I forgot about, which is kind of telling in terms of this video, I knew there was going to be at least one plant that I just completely forgot, because they're plants I forget about all the time. Looking at all these plants up close, I think I do want to appreciate them a little bit more, and maybe this has inspired you to also think about some of those plants that you've maybe neglected, maybe haven't thought about or appreciated as much. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to comment and like and subscribe. That's all super, super helpful for me, and give me bonus points with the algorithm and all that jazz. And also, I just love connecting with you guys in the comments. I think it's really fun to build this nice little planty community that we have. So yeah, well, I hope that you have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye-bye!